Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial I will be showing you how to make this watermelon swirl. Here are the three colors that I used. I will list them down in the description. What we are going to do is make two white stripes on the opposite side of each other, and then we're going to put our green and our pink in between those lines. I'm just using short bursts of the color, and sometimes it does take a few passes. After the video, I actually went back and cleaned up a little bit of the white line. But as you can see, there is still a little bit of overspray in the white from the green and the pink, and that is okay because we are going to be using a really good coverage white glitter, and we're also going to be putting some mica and acrylic stripes on there, so it's going to cover the majority of that up and blend it all together really well. We are applying our glitter by the epoxy method. I have used about a milliliter of epoxy, and I did learn a cool new trick. If you tap your glove all over your cup, it will help even your epoxy out, and you do not have to set it to the side for a couple of minutes like I have mentioned in my prior videos. We are using Sea Glass from PDB Glitter, and I'm just going to first make a pretty bold line down the center, and then I'm going to hold the cup at an angle to allow it to fall into the colors on the side of it. Now I am speeding through this just a little bit. I have a couple of videos on how I do my ombres, and this is basically the same concept. It is just a different way. Then we're going to come in with Valley Girl also from PDB, and I'm going to do the same thing with it. I apply the bolder line and then come through, hold my cup at an angle, and let it fall into the white. Once we have the Valley Girl on, we are going to move into Mojito. Now in between each of these, I am knocking the excess glitter off. Just take a pair of scissors and tap the top of the cup, and that will help knock any of the excess glitter off. Of course, do not forget about the bottom of your tumbler. I really do not put too much attention to it. I just dab it in the glitter once I finish, and then once this has dried for about 4 hours, I'm using a little extra ink epoxy. It dries very quickly, so about 4 hours after I finished this, I sprayed over twice with Rust-Oleum matte clear coat, and then moved right into applying my epoxy about 30 to 45 minutes after that had dried. And again, I'm using a little extra ink epoxy. I'm coming in with my first coat. This is going to be a pretty generous coat because the next one we are going to put a really thin layer to add our mica swirls. There's no need for sanding in between this layer and the next, so I only waited about 3 hours before I applied my second layer and was ready to do my swirls. Now for the second layer, as I said, it is going to be pretty thin. We don't want it to be too thick to where our micas are going to move around too much. So I would say on a 16-ounce cup, this is probably anywhere from 12 to 15 ounces of epoxy that I'm applying here. And for my white, I am going to use a little bit of acrylic paint as well as diamond dust from PDB. I'm going to add both of those into my epoxy and then just string it over top of the white stripes on my cup. Now before you do add those on, do not forget to torch, because you're not going to want to do this too heavily after you apply the swirls, because it will cause too much movement. So torch and then add on your stripes. You can do this many ways. You can pour it on if you can control a really light stream coming out of the cup. You can dab your finger in it and dab it on your cup as well. But my preference is just to use a popsicle stick and just string it in an up and down motion. And then I will go back after that and kind of blend it in just a little bit with my finger. After I finish my white, I'm going to come in with Lucky Little Lad mica from Unicorn Dust Micas. Now this is a trick that I learned from another video that I have watched in the past. You just take, now it has to be light epoxy, meaning your glove is just a little tacky. You can see how much is on there. And you dab it in the epoxy and apply it directly to the cup. This works so well because your micas are not additional epoxy going onto your cup, making it thicker and causing more movement. I do not want very much movement in these lines at all. I want them to look like rinds. So I'm just dabbing my glove directly into the micas. It does not ruin your micas unless you drip some epoxy in there, of course. And just apply them by up and down motion and just striping them on. I will come back in with my white and do the same thing just to give it a little bit of dimension. And then come in with Raspberry Kiss, also from Unicorn Dust Micas, on the pink side and do the exact same thing. Once I have finished that, I'm going to come in very lightly with my torch. I, again, do not want very much movement in this. I want my lines to stay where they are. But I do come in just to pop any bubbles that I might have created by the movement on putting the micas down and even the epoxy out. And I let that dry overnight, and it is ready to apply my decal. Now I did sand the top rim to expose a little bit of the stainless so I can get a really nice seal, sanded around the bottom as well and any roughness that was in between. This is a free file that I found online, and I will put this in the files in my group, which will be in the description. I'm going to apply it down using the hinge method, trim a little piece off of the transfer paper off of the back, and you can stick it to your cup, and then once you have it positioned, roll the backing off and just basically rub your decal on. You can also do this by using some tape rather than trimming the backing off if you want the full decal covered, but this is the way that I always do it. And Cricut does have offset now, which is amazing, but sometimes it leaves little pieces in there that I don't want. So I'm going to come in with a blade and just trim out these little pieces of the offset that I don't want behind my decal. Now my original plan for this cup was to be a 12-ounce koozie. The tumbler is from the Steel Magnolias, and luckily you can interchange the tops on these, which is a really big selling point for me in my shop. So instead of a Coolsey lid, I actually used a 16-ounce HYDROFIT lid. And you can also put the regular extra small lid on this as well to turn it into a 16-ounce tumbler instead of a 12-ounce Coolsey. My daughter loves watermelon, and she had an idea that we put leopard print instead of the watermelon seeds. So that is what I decided to do, and just decided to let her have this one. I haven't seen another cup with leopard print instead of watermelon seeds. You can most certainly put watermelon seeds on yours. Now, I could have just applied these all at once, but I didn't like how close together they were. So I just applied them in really small sections and some one by one, so I could put them in the pattern that I like. In the end, I almost put them just as close as they were on the sheet, so I probably should have saved myself the trouble and just put them all at once. But here I am individually placing these leopard spots. And of course, do not forget the bottom of your cup. And on the edges, just put them pretty sporadic. I put a couple over the white, and then had them set back just a little bit as well into the pink, just to break it up a little bit. I also decided to add a few around my decal on the front, just to kind of pull the design all together. And then once I finish that, I can go in with my final layers of epoxy. Now, after I applied the first layer of epoxy after my decals, I did add on a little more diamond dust in between my pink and green, just to blend in the edge of my leopard print a little bit better and not make it such a harsh transition. And I think that turned out really, really well in the end. After about 3 hours, I applied my final coat, and here is the results. My daughter absolutely loved it, and again, this was originally going to be a 12-ounce slim can Coolsey from Steel Magnolias, but my daughter decided that she wanted this cup, so I switched the top out for a HYDROFIT lid, and if I wanted, I could also put a extra small lid and turn it into a 16-ounce tumbler as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell in the corner to be notified of any videos dropping on the channel, and comment if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.